Because we don't read contracts, we miss those important things. And when claim stage then comes, then we have got an issue. Usually they don't advertise the real price. They usually advertise the price with the residual at the bottom. That's why there's terms and conditions always at the bottom. But we don't look at that. We're looking at that 3.5. That's what I want. And then you get to the dealership and that's exactly what they're going to give to you. Another trap that we get into is because we've got balloon payments, which most people don't actually end up having that lump sum at the end. 84 months.
84 months.
84 months for a car. You were never even supposed to buy that car. You never afforded that car. But because you wanted that car at that time, what you did is you made a compromise. Most of us are unrealistic about what it means to afford anything. You need to make sure that before you purchase a car, you do your research in terms of what you can actually afford.
No.
That's what people think in that moment. They say, it's just 100,000. Hi, my name is Kawala Safota and welcome to the Wealth Dialogue podcast. Today we're going to be discussing car finances.
Hey guys, I'm back. Joshua's back. Guy at the back.
Yes, hi Joshua.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me back to the Wealth Dialogue. Today we're going to be discussing what?
Car finance.
Car finance.
Yes.
Okay, what about car finance?
Today we're going to be talking about how car dealerships sell cars to us.
Okay.
The psychology that they use for us to purchase vehicles from them.
Sure.
And in most cases, we don't get the full story.
What's the full story?
The full story is when you are acquiring a vehicle, I'm not going to say an asset, I'm going to say a vehicle, is that there's costs associated with owning a vehicle. So besides the installment, which is usually advertised, there is car insurance, there is car trackers, there is fuel, there is maintenance of the vehicle.
Okay.
So there is the total cost of
ownership.
Yes, there's total cost of ownership.
But can I not subtract like things like your insurance, things like your petrol, your maintenance? Okay, petrol, you
need petrol.
Yeah, your maintenance and all of that.
I'm talking about on the go, like.
Yeah, but it's if you're going to work, you like, for example, if I'm coming to work every day, I need petrol every day to get from point A. So look at it in a holistic manner. Let's say somebody has to be in the office from the 1st to the 30th of each month.
Sure.
Let's talk about that person. We're talking about, because that's majority. Let's not talk about an individual's view, but let's talk about a holistic view, a general view, which a person who goes to work daily to earn an income will need to go to work every day. So they will need petrol.
Sure.
Right? So when you can opt out of certain things. However, when you're financing your car, insurance companies require you. It's a requirement to have insurance. So for example, when you leave the dealership floor, that car will not leave the floor without insurance.
Insurance, sure.
Right?
Sure.
Once they have gotten confirmation that you've paid for your insurance and you've got this insurance document, they then let you off the floor, right, with that car. You drive out, you go home, you do whatever. Now, what they also do now is that every other month, they will contact you to say, good day, ma'am. Can you please send us a copy of your insurance policy? Now, on the insurance policy, it will show when the inception date is, because the condition of giving you finance was your car needs to be insured. For that insurance, sometimes, in most instances these days, they also want a tracker on your vehicle as part of, because then there's a clause in the long contracts that says if you do not have a tracker, your insurance will be null and void. So you'll keep paying, but if you don't have a tracker on it, there is usually a clause in there. I know with my insurance, it does have that clause to say, if you don't have a tracker on your car, we will assume this insurance is null and void because you did not meet the requirement.
What is null and void?
Meaning it does not exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yes. Meaning the day that you come and you want to claim, they will say you did not meet the conditions of the contract.
Okay.
Same as some insurance will say, go and do a check on your windscreen, or also go do a check on your car before your insurance can be active. But in the meantime, it's active, but they're giving you 7 days to say, go to a glass fit, so that the glass fit can give us a report showing that your windscreen is 100%. So that if you have to claim in the future, they know that your windscreen wasn't damaged by the time it was insured. So there's always those conditions that they give us. And because we don't read contracts, we miss those important things. And when claim stage then comes, then we have got an issue. So some of the things, unfortunately, you can't opt out of, especially when you are financing, because you're asking money from somebody to buy you that car. Whereas if you are buying it cash, outright, and then you can opt out of insurance. Then you don't have to have insurance. Then you don't have to have a tracker, because now you bought the car cash. You don't owe anybody. But if you are financing anything, those people that borrowed you that 500,000 or 200,000, they need surety that in the event that anything happens to that vehicle, they are able to recoup their money from you. And that is through insurance.
Okay.
You have a car accident and your car is written off. Usually there is a value that they pay out. You take that value and you can either pay it to the bank, and then you know that your debt is settled. Sometimes there's a shortfall because your car is still very new. And there's a shortfall in terms of the amount that pays out versus the amount that you owe the bank, because on the banks or on the car finance side, there is interest. So you might have not even tapped into the interest yet. And so there's always a shortfall, and that's why there's also shortfall cover. Especially when your car is still brand new, it's always advisable to also take short-term shortfall cover to cover for that shortfall, so that whatever you pay to the bank, if there is a shortfall, you have to continue paying for it, for that shortfall. Or you can also claim again from another insurer to cover that shortfall, and then you start from scratch now, and you look for a new car, and then you continue. So it's very important to have all of those things, especially when you're financing a car. You need to be aware that insurance is important, and your tracker is important. Maintenance, if your car is not on a service plan, if you buy a pre-owned car and it's out of service plan, you need to ensure that you also, get a service plan, so that when you take your car in for service, you're not shocked by the 8,000 rand bill or the 12,000 rand bill based on the model of your car. Because even with that, it is based on the model of your car. It is based on the kilometers of your car, and it also is based on the wear and tear of your car. If your brakes are finished, it's a wear and tear issue, and that can cost an additional 5, 6, 10,000 rand on top of your service. So there is lots of costs that are associated with owning a car. Therefore, opting out when you've got car finance is usually not an option. Yeah.
So they pull you in to say, hey man, the installment is 3.5, and you're like, okay, Polo, hey man, I'll be looking cute for the mummies.
Yes, and then only to find out that it's actually not 3.5, it's actually 7,000 rand.
Yeah.
Yes, then you get a shock of your life. And I think that's why most people, or most young people, they fall into that trap. And now what they do is also, when they advertise, the other hook that they have on us is they advertise, or they give you that installment including a residual, or what we also call a balloon payment.
Tell us more about that. Yeah.
So what a balloon payment or residual is if your vehicle is worth 300,000, but you can't afford the installment of 8,000 rand per month.
Sure.
But you can only afford maybe, let's say, 4,500 or 5,000 rand. They actually then reduce, part of the value of the vehicle by taking, let's say, 100,000 and saying, after 5 years or after 7 years, you can pay us a lump sum at the end, but your installments are now reduced for the duration of the contract.
Sure.
Right? The other thing that also helps with, getting an amount that is reasonable is by extending the term. Back in the day, we used to know 5 years, which is 60 months. Then it increased to 72 months. Now people are going as far as 84 months.
84 months?
84 months for a car.
Sure.
That means by that time you've had that car for 7-8 years.
And you're still paying
for it. So that is also another trap that we get into, is because we've got balloon payments, which most people don't actually end up having that lump sum at the end of the finance period. Yeah. So what they do is they refinance that 100,000 into the new vehicle. So they take that 100,000 that they were supposed to pay. They now move it and refinance it. If they want a new car, they get another car for 400,000. They take that 100,000 that they were supposed to pay. Sure. They put it in there. Now
it's five.
It's five. Yes. Then they also add another residual value at the end of 200,000 now, so that they can get the latest vehicle. So what happens is you become a slave now to the bank, because every single time you need to refinance your vehicle, because you don't have that lump sum, you don't have that 200,000 at the end, because from the beginning you were never even supposed to buy that car. You never afforded that car, but because you wanted that car at that time, what you did is you made a compromise and you added a residual or a balloon payment, and now you're going to keep doing that. It's going to be a cycle. Now you are trapped
in debt.
And you can't get out of it because you have to keep financing it. The only way to get out of it is if you never upgrade your car and you pay for that balloon payment for another 3 years, because now that balloon payment or that residual stays there. And in most cases, it takes about 3 years to pay that off. So that means on top of that 7 years that you were paying for the car, or 8 years, now you've added another 3 years to pay off that residual, balloon payment. So those are the traps that we find ourselves in, because when they advertise to us, usually they don't advertise the real price. They usually advertise the price with the residual at the bottom. That's why there's terms and conditions always at the bottom. But we don't look at that. We're looking at that 3.5. That's what I want. And then you get to the dealership and that's exactly what they're going to give to you. They don't tell you that, oh, there's a residual. Yeah, but because now you already want it, it's already in your mind, you're already excited. You know, maybe you've told your mom, you want to go home with this, nice, beautiful car, you've made it. But when you sign in the contract, now they start telling you, oh, there's this 150. By the way, there's 150 residual that you have to pay at the end of 8 years. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll have it. I'll have 100,000. I'll probably have had 3 salary increases, so I'll be fine. I'll be okay. I'll be able to cover it.
That's what people rely on.
That's what people think in that moment. They say, it's just 100,000. I would have received some bonuses. I would have put money aside. But most people don't put money aside. They get to the end of the installment cycle, and now the bank is like, okay, where's our 150,000? And now you're like, this car is breaking down. You can't even fix it anymore. It's giving you problems and you just want to get rid of it.
Sure.
And when you're trying to get rid of it, unfortunately, you can't get rid of the residual. Yeah. Or you can't get rid of the balloon payment. It's there. It needs to be done. And usually now they give you an option to say, okay, because you can't pay us cash, let's start a cycle now of you paying back that residual.
So your car is a liability in that case.
In that case, yes.
So how do you turn it into an asset? Can you turn it into an asset?
You can if it's a vehicle that helps you get income, but also if you also purchase a vehicle that you can actually afford. I think most of us are unrealistic about what it means to afford anything.
What does affording look like?
Affording means it doesn't, like for example with vehicles, we say it mustn't be more than 30% of your net income. But we prefer it to be less, right?
10%.
Yeah, between 15, 20, so that you still have room for emergencies. So you can have a brand new vehicle and you can still have lots of problems on that vehicle. You can have a pre-owned vehicle and you can have problems with it or not, right? But you don't know where you'll fall. Another example is that, a lot of people struggle with now is tires, right? With potholes, we have a lot of tire issues. So especially people with run flat tires, they struggle a lot. I have no friends that have run flat tires and they have to replace that thing, and it's a lot of money, right? Whereas for me, I know my tire value. For example, when I purchase a car, the first thing I look at, besides all of those costs, is what is the cost of a tire on my car.
Sure.
All right?
Okay.
Then I make sure that I've got enough money for 4 tires. So I've got an account where I put for an excess of my car. So in case I get into an accident, I've got excess money. So if my excess is 3,000 Rand or 5,000 Rand, I make sure that I've got that 5,000 Rand sitting in a fund. Then I've got money for tires, all 4 tires, not one, all 4 tires. Then I have money for unexpected maintenance, and I can ballpark it to a certain amount depending on the value of my car. So for example, if I know that my car, if anything happens to it, I will need between 5 to 10,000 Rand. I make sure that I've got that money saved somewhere. Then once I can have that money, then I know I can afford that car. But if I start looking at the cost of a tire and I can't I can't comprehend that value, that means I can't afford it. So affordability works different for all of us. However, you need to make sure that before you purchase a car, you do your research in terms of what you can actually afford, not what you think you can afford. Can you afford a car without a residual? Can you afford a car without a residual? That is the first thing. If you can, that means you can afford the car. When you add all those other costs as well, the total cost gives you 10,000 Rand. Can you afford that?
Per month.
Per month.
Yeah.
And if your interest rate on your vehicle is linked, so there's the difference between fixed and linked. Linked, it's linked to the interest rate, meaning if the interest rate goes up and down, your installments will change accordingly. If it's fixed, you know that it's fixed for the duration of the contract. But let's say you've got linked and interest rates are going up, you also need to make allowance for that.
Okay.
But also you need to make allowance for changes in fuel costs. Because petrol goes up and you still need to go to work. And now petrol is no longer 22 Rand, it's 27 Rand.
Yeah.
Will you be able to have that room to wiggle and account for those changes or not?
Okay.
And if you can't, then don't buy that expensive vehicle. If your view, right, or you're buying that car for business purposes, for example, then it's different. You're using it to generate an income, then of course it turns into an asset. But if it's just how hello using it for going to work and it's a fancy car unnecessarily, then it doesn't become an asset. But if I'm buying a car that is affordable, it gets me from my house to work and back every day safely, then that's also is fine. But most of us want a beautiful car. I mean, I love a beautiful car. I love a beautiful car, but I will negotiate for a good price also. I'm one that will never take the price that's there. I will definitely negotiate.
How do you negotiate? Can you teach us a little bit trick?
Hey, I can't teach people how to negotiate.
Or we should leave it for another episode.
We'll leave the negotiating for another episode, but never always take prices at face value. You must always negotiate and come from a good point of why you're negotiating. So, for example, if you've got a good deposit, then that is one point. You got a good deposit. But if you come there with nothing, you can't negotiate with nothing. You must have some leverage that you're negotiating with. If you're going to have a good deposit, they're always willing to wiggle around the price. If you're going to trade in, which a lot of people I think undermine, is trading in the vehicle. Or you can even sell it first and then you put money into the vehicle. So there's lots of those things, but also you negotiate with your bank on your interest rate, which people don't do. People take what the bank gives them. If the bank says you've been approved, they run with it. They run with it. But the bank will give you that interest rate. If you take it, they're happy. But you can actually also negotiate, because remember, you and I can buy the same car at the same value, but we will not pay the same amount, because my interest rate could be quite low, could be at 11% and yours is at 18%, meaning you're paying 1,000 or 2 more than I am. But you think we're on the same level, but we're not.
It's because you negotiated.
Because I negotiate my interest rate, number one. I negotiated my price. So we could have gotten the same dealership and the same vehicle, and they were both saying 300,000, and I end up coming out of there with 280 because I had leverage. When I walked in there, you just said, as long as the installment is, I'm fine.
Sure.
So that's also the other mentality, that we should look at what we are buying, how we are buying, and then also negotiate. Negotiate. Dealerships are always willing to negotiate. But if they see that you are just there because of the installment amount, then they move with it. But if you come there and you are, prepared, they're able to drop the price sometimes for you.
Okay.
And also with your bank, when you go and ask for finance, make sure that your credit record is good. Firstly, you can't go to the bank and expect them to drop your interest rate if your finances are not in a good state. But also they look at affordability when it comes to interest rate. They look to say, how much are you left with after they take out their installment? Insurance is going to take out their installment. Are you high risk or low risk? If they see that you've got some savings, they see that you are always paying your monthly obligations on time, then they think they rate you lower. And therefore, that's where they can give you a lower interest rate. Sometimes they don't. That's where you've got room to speak to them and say, you know what, I want to take out this finance with you. However, this interest rate is not good for me. Can we relocate it? And they can go relocate it, and you can have your reasons why. And then sometimes they do drop it for you. In most cases, they do drop it for you, and then you get a good deal. So you get a good interest rate, you get a good price at the dealership, and then you also have a deposit. Those are the 3 key things when you look at car finance.
So I really want us to go deeper into the negotiation, but I think we can save that
for another day.
For another day.
Yes.
Yeah. For a person that finds themselves in a situation where they bought that M4 and now it's difficult, it's hard paying it, what advice would you give them?
Take it back. I'll say take it back. I know a lot of South Africans don't like to go back in lifestyle. A lot of us don't want to go back in lifestyle. So because you're driving an M4, you're afraid your friends are not going to be like, hey, but what happened? What happened? We are afraid of that. And guys, there's nothing wrong with downscaling for a while. There's absolutely no shame in that. And I think once we get that, we will actually have better financial decisions that we make in the future. So if you go back and you say, okay, what can I afford? Maybe you can still be in the BMW family, but at a lower rate. I'm not sure about what an M4. I think it's what's an M4? It's a sport, ne? Yes, but maybe you can just go for a normal Merc, which is 5,000 rand less. Now you're saving on 5,000 rand, and then maybe you can still keep the same family, the BM, but of a lower range. And then what it does also is that because now the value of the other one was quite high, your insurance also drops automatically. You understand? So there is a ripple effect when you just downscale, and sometimes you don't have to go out entirely. You can just downgrade to a entry-level BMW, still new, just that the cost will be lower, maybe by 200,000, because the M4 was, was more. So then you drop the installment by 5,000 rand, you drop the insurance, and now you are now thinking, okay, now I'm breathing. One day when things are looking good, which you shouldn't be rushing to now upgrade when things are fine, but I think it also shows you that it's okay to downscale. Or you can even get another vehicle if you have to. We've had clients where, the person will say, I can't drive an X5 anymore. However, I still love BMW. I want to I'll go buy an X1. Cuts the installment in half, insurance goes down, and they're comfortable, right? Okay. until they get their house in order, of course, and now they're making more money. But also, I think those type of people usually then start seeing what it's the same. Yes, that one looked nice, the name was
Yeah.
better, but I was not happy because it was killing me. I was not eating well. The petrol on this thing was crazy.
Yeah.
But now this one is a little bit more fuel efficient. I'm able to enjoy myself. I'm able to travel more because now I don't cry about petrol.
Petrol, yeah.
Yeah. So there's all those factors. What is it that is important to you? Is it, are you doing it for other people? Or are you doing it for yourself? I mean, if you're doing it for yourself, you're not eating at night and you sleep hungry, that's also fine. As long as you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
But I would advise somebody to rather downscale.
Okay.
Get something smaller, which still serves the same purpose. Then from there, you can review again in another year or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you so much. I wanted
Thank
to
you.
ask you a lot of questions, which
Ask.
I feel we can ask on the next episode.
Okay. Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much, the viewers. Joshua is out. Hello, what do you have
Thank
to say?
you. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you in the next episode.